Pike County Fiscal Court will be called to order, please, and have a roll call the clerk.
Judge Rutherford.
Present.
Master Anderson.
Here.
Master Johnson. Master Murphy. Here. Master Robinson. Master Dotson.
Here.
Master Harris.
Here.
We have a quorum. We'll have Pledge of Allegiance led by Magistrate Murphy. You have a copy of the minutes of the August 21 meeting. Jeannie and I both have reviewed them, and of course you have that in your packet. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Have a motion, Magistrate Murphy, second Magistrate Johnson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson. Yes. Magistrate Murphy. Yes. Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Dotson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris.
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes. We'll now do the judge's update, and we had the benefit fair. If you'll, the benefit fair was a success. The total number when I was over there was, the last time was 205, I believe. Jeannie, what was the final number in regard to that? 206. One was there. We had 48 different vendors, 48 different agencies, nonprofits, businesses who was hiring, and what an opportunity it was. As you all are aware, we was not scheduled for a job fair, as the Lexington paper called it, and we called it to the attention of Mr. Whitehead at the East Kentucky Concentrated Employment Program at Hazard. And we asked that a benefit fair, as they called it, the paper called it a job fair, and it was a great success, and I know, and it was kindly sad. I had the opportunity to spend some time over there, and one young man in particular had lost his job from a mining company. He had a job as a welder at Virginia Beach, Virginia. Had a new baby, about 8 weeks old, had the baby with him. His wife didn't want him to leave. He didn't want to leave the area. So hopefully, as he visited around the sponsors, that he was able to find something. The purpose of what Mr. Whitehead, the executive director of the East Kentucky Concentrated Employment Program, was to collect data so that they could apply for retraining funds to retrain our people, not only coal miners, but anybody that had been laid off and was out of work that's looking for a new vocation. So it was a great day and a good day. Next is the NRCS projects, the Lower Johns Creek Mike Branch Bridge, and that was discussed at length by Magistrate Dotson and our road commissioner, Mr. Hatcher, at our previous meetings, and it got to be pretty dangerous over there, simply because we could lose a bridge, a very good bridge, that was built in the 70s with severance tax money. You saw on the monitor, you saw the before and after pictures, and as you noticed, that laying down to the bottom now, it's green grass next to the water. That's what come off on the last storm that we had prior to this work being done. You also noticed from these photographs that there was an old low water bridge that was still in the creek. I think that was removed. I think I'm correct in that, and then you ended up, and I will predict that we won't have any problem with our bridge in the future, and the people who live in the house will have their property and their home secured, and that's what USDA and NRCS does. They do excellent work. They let a contract. They have an inspector standing on site with them. Once a project is completed, they sign off on it, and then a check is issued. It's not like FEMA. When FEMA shows up, you're under a declaration. They won't give you anything in writing, and when FEMA's gone, they're gone. You don't have anybody to contact, and you don't know where you ever get your money, because you have to put your money up, the county does, up front when we have a disaster. And thank God that we haven't had one since we've had our budget problems as they are existing today. So we also should have on here some photographs of the Upper Horses Creek and Lower Horses Creek. Upper Horses Creek is finished, and Lower Horses Creek is almost complete, as Jeannie got the last report. Rock House on Paw Paw was started last Thursday. Ball Fork Church House started Thursday of last week. Abner Fork will start this coming week. So we are blessed that USDA NRCS, who has statutory responsibility on the federal code, and this came from Katrina, when the United States Congress took the stabilization of the banks of the streams away from FEMA. One reason was the poor job that they done with Katrina in the South. So, and another thing, the federal legislation that was passed, signed into law by the president, of course, they don't have to have a presidential declaration to spend federal money to stabilize the stream. And this was an example. We had 2 storms, and of course they was contacted by Jeannie, and they came straight in here, made their inspections with you all, with the magistrate, with the road foreman, with the road commissioner, and started these projects this quick. So it is good to be able to sit here today with all the criticism that we and other people around the country gives our federal government. But here is an agency of federal government that is responsive, responsible, and comes in and gets the job done. We're also able to announce that Senator McConnell's office informed us that Pike County Airport had received a $2 million DOT discretionary grant to construct the runway. Of course, you all remember the runway was closed, and while it was closed, we had a slip on the runway, and it was closed so that the people would have access when the construction of the road to the airport, the Kelsey Friend Boulevard, stopped at the mountain, if you remember, and then they got money then we got it put back. We got the money to do the cut through, and then that took the road off of that other runway, and it could be opened back up. So the money was applied for by the city and the county and the airport board, and Senator McConnell's office informed us that $2 million would be. That, of course, will lend to make him eligible for commuter air service at the local airport.
Judge, I was under the impression that money was for the taxiway. They were going to complete the taxiway.
The taxiway, too. I didn't. Jeannie.
I didn't think it was runway. I thought it was a taxi.
Jeannie
they were
has
going
a
to connect
copy
the
of it that we
taxiway.
received, and it should be one in your all's file to tell exactly what the money is to be expended for. Next, in regard to the, as you all are aware, they opened the coal building, which was made possible by our coal corporations, and Congressman Rogers was the main speaker, and they contributed so much, so many people, and especially the coal industry. Millions of dollars was put into this project by by the coal industry in Kentucky and from corporations outside Kentucky that had made a lot of money mining coal in Pike County. So what a day this was, and of this dedication, and it was well attended. I know they had 300 chairs down the street, down by the Appalachian News Express on that street, and it was a great day, and a great day. Pat and I attended the dinner that they had that night, and got to hear the history of all the work that had gone into the planning for the coal building, and to put the Pikeville Medical School under one roof, and to bring it up to standards. And we are so proud in Pike County to have a medical school. There are 3 medical schools in the Commonwealth, one in Louisville, one in Lexington, and one in Pikeville. So it does so much for our area, and especially in the healthcare in Central Appalachia. We will have a 50th birthday cake in the hallway to my left out these doors as soon as the court meeting adjourns, and we are all invited. The county attorney, Heard Keith Hall, is very happy and elated that he's made it to 50 years. And he invites all of us to join him and to have some of his delicious birthday cake.
I like his picture here pretty good.
I think some of us remember those days. The Kentucky County Judges Association Fall Retreat will be in Eastern Kentucky. Judge Daniels from Johnson County is the president this year, and they always have it in the home area. It will be on September 27th. On the 26th, which is Wednesday, they can come in early and can play golf at Stonecrest, and then on Thursday they will be a short business meeting, and then the Big Sandy Transportation, they'll be loaded up, and they will be brought to up the Big Sandy. And this was organized by the Pike County Tourism, Floyd County, Prestonsburg Tourism, and Paintsville Tourism, and the City of Pikeville Tourism. And they will be brought to Pikeville. They will go to the new cafeteria in the coal building for lunch. They will be greeted by former First Lady Judy Patton and former Governor Paul Patton, and they will greet them there. During their lunch, they will get a visual tour of the Hatfield and McCoy from Mr. Potter, a historian of the blackberry sites in the county. After lunch, they will get a tour of the sites in Pikeville, a tour that Mr. Potter will, of course, moderate as they travel to the different sites in Pikeville. Prior that morning, when they leave Jenny Wiley, matter of fact, Judge Daniels tried to get the breaks. They couldn't provide them enough room, and of course they ended up having to go to Jenny Wiley since they didn't have enough rooms in Paintsville. So they're well retreated. Usually there's 60% of the county judge executives attends these fall retreats, and that means that them and their spouses, that's 120 there. But that morning when they leave Thursday morning, they will go up to Stonecrest. Speaker Stumbo and State Senator Turner, who live on Stonecrest, adjacent to the golf course, will give them about a 15-minute of how coal is mined and how that we use mountaintop mining as mountaintop development, and the top of these mountains are developed. And then they will leave and they will come up to Big Sandy and they will stop at Ivel at the mine site that most people are familiar with, that's just been reclaimed. and they will stop there and not get off of the buses, but they will give them a just short lesson on how mining is done, contour mining is done, and how mining is done, and how reclamation is done, and that is back to a contour site. So then they'll come on to Pike County. While of course they will pass all of this construction going on in the county, and so forth. But there's some $600 million worth of construction that's going on in Pike County today. Then the fall horse ride at Lick Creek, and Charles Carlton and I was able to meet with the owner of some property that they could use and can use. That he said they had their permission, that he had talked to the county attorney's office and to Judge Hayes, if needed be, that property could be used. But the Pike County fall horse ride in this beautiful area of Pike County, and I was hoping they got some of the pictures of last year's ride on here so you just know how beautiful that this area actually is. It's one of the most beautiful areas, and in future years, this will grow into one of the largest horse rides, and of course we hold that. The Pike County Fiscal Court does twice each year. This year, it's on Saturday, September 29th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And of course, we always give them a meal back in the mountain, and that will be the traditional meal will be prepared. Our county employees are so grateful to, again, come out and participate on a Saturday, and to make this a successful ride and a successful horse trail ride. Then we have the March of Dimes, and you know that was discussed at the last meeting that we held here. And it's so important that people understand what the March of Dimes has done and continued to do in this country. And Pike County and Pikeville has done so much to the contributions in the past. And they have a walk, March of Dimes walk, Saturday, September 29th at 9 a.m. I don't know where you can read that. We're going to have to put it in larger letters on the monitor in the future so that you can read it. But the March of Dimes will be at 9 a.m. on September 29th. Then we have West Care and United Pike has the second annual Walk for Recovery. And I know that we all understand the scourge of drugs that we have and have been going on, and the lawsuits that this court has filed against Purdue Farmer for the selling of OxyContin in Pike County, and getting so many people hooked on it and so many addicts in this county. But how proud can we be of people who have recovered? And this is to honor those people in our families and in our county who have recovered. Many are contributing today to society, and they're not a burden on society anymore. So that is Saturday, September 29th at 11 a.m. And the March of Dimes walk will be the same date at 9. It'll be at Bob Amos Park. This will start out at the Main Street Plaza next to the Expo Center at 11 a.m. on Saturday, September 29th. The next is the Pike County Awards Picnic. That's something that we look forward to as a court every year. It's something for us to thank our county employees and the job that they do. A lot of people don't realize how many employees that are employed through county government. I think if you look, we're the 8th largest employer in the county, thereabout, and that we employ now about 250 people, contribute to the economic well-being of this county and many families. One thing that we have, Pike County is a good place to be employed. And when we look at our road department, for example, they average about 17 years of experience. So that we have excellent employees. We have our awards that's given out that day. Safety is one thing that we always push. our wellness program. We always push it at this, and it is something that they bring their families out. This is a family affair. We always have the backup at the Expo Center. This is held in the city park, and that will be Wednesday, October the 3rd, from noon until 4 p.m. So it's a great opportunity for our employees, and we give them the day off only if they attend this awards ceremony and picnic. Next we have a trick and treat, and we have conferred with the mayor of Coal Run, the mayor of Elkhorn City, and the city of Pikeville, and we know when, I think it falls on, was it Wednesday? It falls on Wednesday, a prayer meeting night this year. So we will ask today for a motion to set this on a date that's compatible with the city of Pikeville and others. And you're aware that the YMCA, due to parking problems, has been moved from the Y down to the main street to the Expo Center, and they have that on the October 23rd. And you all are aware of that. That's grown into a big thing. But when it had it to Y, they didn't have the parking because thousands of people showed up, and they blocked even the boulevard and the bridge at the mouth going up into Cedar. So now that is observed, and if there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But if not, I'll ask for a motion to set trick or treat at Tuesday, October 30th, 6 to 8 p.m. Have a motion, have a second? Have a second, have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson? Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. Next, we'll have the sheriff's settlement, and we'll ask you all to come around, please, to the podium. And to acknowledge receipt of the Pike County Sheriff's settlement for 211 on unmined coal tax and settlement 211 property tax. If you would hand them to somebody to hand out and go to the microphone, because we have Pike TV here today and we don't want to have any lull, and move it forward. And thank you for coming back, and we recognize you because you've been here before, and go ahead and proceed.
The sheriff couldn't make it today. He had to be out of town for a doctor's appointment, I believe. But what you have in front of you, or will have, is a 2011 unmined property tax settlement and the 2011 unmined real property settlement. So I guess you want to take a minute and look through it. If anybody has any questions, we need to get approval so we can close this year out and get the 2012 tickets in the mail.
I would ask you next year to try to bring this in before so that we can get it to our treasurer and our finance director and the court so that they can review it before the meeting. So if they can have any questions, they could raise the questions in regard to it.
Tracy, is there anything in the audits that we should be concerned about as a court?
No, everything's pretty much routine like it is every year. Lucy, who's in charge of the tax department, has done a fine job. Collections were about the same as they were in 2010, give or take a few dollars.
Well, is it above or below the last year's collection?
The charges were up, more tax bills went out, but the collections were down approximately $2 million across all districts.
Down how much?
Almost $2 million.
Well, see, that's a concern with our budget situation that we have. That is a real concern for this court.
Now, $30 million of tax tickets went out on the real property tax tickets, and in the prior year, $27 million went out. So $3 million more dollars of charges went out, but $2 million less came in.
What I think that the Magistrate Harris was relating to is where do we stand financially on the projections that has been made by our budget office and so forth.
I'm not sure what kind of projections you're speaking of.
Well, the treasurer would have to speak to that.
Yes.
We budgeted what we had collected close to it from last year.
Close to it?
We may have gone down a little bit in case something didn't come in, but we used revenue figures from last year. So it doesn't take into effect of what he says was out there to be collected.
John, if he's $2 million short, is that going to interfere with what you had estimated we had for last year?
No, because we budgeted based on what we collected last year.
You budgeted on what came in last year?
Yeah, we budgeted as to what we received.
Now, of course, there's still been collected in Lily and Pearl's office, so there's more collections on top of this. This is just the sheriff's responsibility portion. So I don't know how much more has been collected after this.
That's correct.
The books go over to the clerk, who then sells the tax tickets at that time, which you can see a revenue increase from her. We saw some increase last month, but not as much this month. But she is still collecting on them.
As you notice, we depend on our treasurer to be satisfied with the numbers.
Yeah.
So make sure next year that you get that to her early so that she can give a report on it to the court.
I sure will.
John, did they indicate when the sale would go out for?
Sold those, haven't they?
I don't think they have they, Lucy?
October the 23rd, maybe, or I think is that not right? October. I don't know. It's on the calendar, but I think it's the 23rd.
I believe it is the 23rd, Jeannie. That
It's in here. I have it.
If there's no further questions, I have a motion.
Motion.
To acknowledge the receipt of. Got a motion second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Master Anderson?
Yes.
Master Johnson?
Yes.
Master Murphy? Master Robinson? Master Dodson?
Yes.
Master Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Judge,
For,
we need a motion for quietus.
I appreciate it.
what about the quietus?
Yes, so they also need to issue that, take a vote on it.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And under the Kentucky statute, Mr. County Attorney.
After this vote.
You want to tell them what the reason we're having the vote on the quietus? The Kentucky statute requires?
Well, that allows them to close the books and go into the next tax year without a quietus.
Well, they can't issue
start
new
collecting
tickets.
next year's taxes. After this vote, I would also like to make a comment.
That'll be fine. Have a motion to second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Master Anderson?
Yes.
Master Johnson?
Yes.
Master Murphy? Yes. Master Robinson? Master Dodson?
Yes.
Master Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. Mr. County Attorney.
Judges, I do this every year, and probably to no avail, but again, I would like to remind the tax-paying public that hasn't paid their taxes that these tickets are now in the county clerk's office. You can pay them. There will be a sale, and once they are sold, you're going to get stuck with all kinds of additional fees, penalties, and interest. And it started out, there was only about one company from Texas that came in and was buying them, and now there's competition for them. I think they had 10 or 11 companies wanting to buy them last year, and they drew straws to see who got to pick the tickets as they go. So this, you can get more interest on buying these tax tickets than any investment you can make just about. So there's a lot of demand for buying these tickets. So I would encourage anyone that has not paid last year's property taxes to immediately go to the clerk's office and make arrangements to pay same. Otherwise, the ticket most likely will be sold, and at that point you'll be dealing with a third party that may be out of state or may not, but regardless, you're going to have attorney fees and interest tacked onto it, and there will be a tax lien on your property.
Jeannie, I want to remind you that the county attorney and I are supposed to appear on the morning show in regard to this issue to let the people know the best we can. We appreciate Pike TV of getting the word out from the county attorney, and also East Kentucky Broadcasting, who has said that we could come on their program and let the people know exactly what the county attorney said. It's important that people have saved their property. Some of this property has been in the hands of these families for generations, and it would be a shame that they would lose in the future This, I've noticed the county attorney walked in. Mr. County Attorney, we all wish you a happy birthday, and for all the work you do and your cooperation your office gives us, and the great advice and keeps us out of trouble, to advising us of the Kentucky law. And let's give the county attorney a hand today and wish him a happy birthday. And we've already invited everybody to come and eat some of your birthday cake. Before we move on, last week I was in a meeting in Lexington discussing the housing situation in Pike County. I think they have something to pull up on the screen for you. We have some acreage, and I don't know where they got it on here with the acreage that we have, but we will, on Stone Coal, which is on Beaver Creek, we will be getting, this is when the governor was up, and we're on that site. That's the reason this picture was used, evidently. But this is the site on Beaver, Stone Coal. It's already there. We will be getting that. There's room for 85 single houses there. We, of course, have a serious problem with middle-income housing. And I met with the Federation of Appalachian Housing Enterprises with Mrs. Porner. She used to be with Will Linder and Associates, and of course Mr. Linder passed away, and she went with this group. And Dr. Carew was also available. He's a consultant to the Federation of Appalachian Housing Enterprises, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. We talked for a long time of how we could bring housing to Pike County to help solve this problem through Pike County government. Now we are aware that, and I hope they put a picture of this site on here today. It's a beautiful site. It is stair steps, and we had pictures of each one going up. It is the room for 88 houses. They suggested, and they're doing a study for us, but they have suggested that they phase this, and the fact that the Pike County government has money for the first time to relocate people out of the floodplain, and there's nowhere for them to go. So we've got approximately, you got FEMA, which we have a grant for, about $7 million. You have about the Pike County government. Pike County Fiscal Court has the same amount from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, and also is moving people out of the floodplain. But their first look at it before they do this study says what may have to do is use that to get money. We still got this problem that we have to have this property fee simple, and we know what that problem is because we dealt with the Federal Highway Administration in regard to the Scott Fork site. So there are federal guidelines that prohibit us from getting fee simple. But the fact that you got two other federal agencies who are spending approximately $14 million to relocate people, then possibly that we could put something together and to get a housing project of 44 units to begin with, half of them, phase one, and do that on the first two levels of that site, and then later do the back part. We would be required of 10% of those houses, Mrs. Napier, to be low income. And those would be in the back, up on the other flats as they develop on second phase. And that is to make Kentucky housing part of of solving this serious housing shortage that we have in the county. So I was there and met with them at length. They're going to give us some recommendations. They will be meeting with Kentucky housing folks. They will be meeting at the USDA offices over in Lexington with their staff. And they of course, will be consulting with the Pike County Housing Authority. They didn't know whether or not they would recommend that we do it through the local housing authority or come up with another group, a nonprofit 501c3, that would not have to comply with all the guidelines that they may have to comply with if they went through the local housing authority. Of course, that decision will have to be made later. Next on the agenda is we lost a walking library recently. Over the years, I had an opportunity to know C. Rowe Blackburn. I used to drive from this courthouse over to Sidney Gibson's store to sit on the porch with him and talk about Pike County. C. Rowe was 99 when he passed away. As a matter of fact, he went hunting this year and he game hunting and killed a turkey. And everybody knows turkey hunting is hard to do, but him at that age, he killed a turkey this year. The Lord had blessed him with a long life. And he seemed like he could remember detail of Pike County and its history and its people and its families. Genealogy was something that he certainly was interested in. The heritage of this county he was interested in. Then when Mr. Gibson passed away, he moved down to the Lowe store and stayed there for a number of years. He would go home and rest. He would come back every day, and he would they had him a seat at the store, and he would sit there every day and talk to the customers and talk about the history of Pike County and its people, and how blessed that his family and all of us are to live in Central Appalachia. But he passed away, and we have a request that we adopt a county road up the side of the Lowe store at the mouth at Gulnair, and there's several houses up that creek, and that goes over into Brutchie, as you're aware, across and over into Big Branch. But we have a request, and they have consulted with his son Larry, who was one of the people that had been talked to in regard to naming this county road for Mr. Blackburn. Mr. County Attorney, I think that there are some statutory requirements that we have to do.
Judge, we have a resolution prepared. I would like to read it.
Go right ahead.
The resolution can be adopted. We can go through the formalities of adopting it. Actually, renaming a county road is one of the duties or privileges that you have as county judge executive on a petition, and I'll read the statute to you in a minute, but let's go ahead and adopt the resolution. It's a resolution naming Sycamore Mountain Roads, County Road number 1036, to its intersection with Mills Road after C. Rowe Blackburn. Whereas C. Rowe Blackburn was born on July 2nd, 1913, to the late Roscoe and Della Bush Blackburn, and whereas Mr. Blackburn spent his working life in the natural gas industry, first as an independent driller, then as a field operator for Kentucky West Virginia Gas Company, where he worked for 25 years before retiring. And whereas an outdoorsman, Mr. Blackburn's favorite activity was hunting, particularly turkey and deer. And whereas when not hunting, Mr. Blackburn preferred to loaf and tell tales, according to his children and friends. He spent many days sitting on the bench at Lowe's grocery store in Gulnair, telling stories, speaking with customers, and talking with fellow loafers. He also spent lots of time at Sid Gibson's store and the Clevenger store. His son Larry joked that he kept outliving the people who owned the places he liked to visit. And whereas his last loafing spot was the Johns Creek Pay Lake, where he spent many days until his recent death at the age of 99, and whereas considered by many to be a walking library, Mr. Blackburn routinely recounted memories from his life as far back as when he was 4 years old. His son Larry said Daddy never forgot anything. An avid gardener who put out a garden every year for over 80 years, and he was an 18-year member of the Freedom Bible Church. His wife Irene and 6 children, Jean, Linda, Cliff, Larry, David, and Marlene, still survive, as do his 10 grandchildren and 11 great-grandchildren. Now, therefore, we, the Pike County Fiscal Court, request County Road number 1036, Sycamore Mountain Road to the intersection of Mills Road, be named in honor of C. Rowe Blackburn.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, Judge. We adopt that.
Motion by Magistrate Anderson, the magistrate in that district, to have a second. Have a second. Mr. Murphy, have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Ruth?
Yes, Mr. County
Judge, from
Attorney.
a legal standpoint, I think we can treat the resolution as a petition, and in pursuant to KRS 179.330, changing the name of the road, such an order may be issued on a petition and proceeding in which 50% or more of the property owners abutting upon the road have joined in the petition or have been summoned for a hearing upon the petition by the county judge executive. And the name of the road can be changed by order of the county judge executive. I would recommend that we advertise and hold a short hearing before the next meeting, and you enter an order at the next meeting renaming it.
Jeannie, would you proceed to advertise a public hearing? And
The property owners
Helped by the
along
county
the road
attorney?
don't have to,
in this courtroom at a
they
certain
do have
time?
to sign off?
There's two ways. You can get 50% of the landowners to sign, in which case the judge can then automatically, if he wants to, change the name, or he can do it after holding a hearing on same. But ultimately, the county judge can rename county roads after
After the hearing?
After the hearing, even if they don't sign it. Now, according to the picture that I have, I don't see any homes on Sycamore Mountain Road. There are on Sycamore Road,
not the
but not on the mountain road.
Not the mountain road.
Okay.
This is a road beside the store.
Okay. So anyway, we will advertise it and hold a short hearing. And
Roland,
They are one,
we have Doug Tackett here with us today, and in the past, we've had
Been
some
there,
problems
done that.
with renaming roads, and I guess we have to do that through your office too, don't we, Doug?
We've already checked that road. There's no homes on it to change addresses or anything, so it's just a road name change.
that's not the road that will be named, the mountain road. There are houses on Mountain Road today.
Okay.
I've been there. Matter of fact, Mr. Roberts and I was down there, across that hill, stopped and talked to some families who live on that mountain road, while we was there that day. But this is a road from the store up, from the store at the mouth of the creek at Gulnar, the county road, which is a county road. So we will have to sort that out between now and the time he has a hearing and give the correct location, Mr.
Sycamore Creek runs in, you turn off left-handed to go up Sycamore Mountain.
Yeah, you've actually got 3 county roads you're dealing with. Because Frank and I, we
And
ran
as
in.
you come off the hill is Mills Branch.
Correct,
Where
mhm.
Harvey Lowe used to live.
Yeah, Mills Branch starts at the top down.
Mills Branch
Right.
is where
Correct,
homes are,
correct.
Yeah,
on the down slope of Sycamore Mountain.
that's correct.
There's nothing going up Sycamore Mountain. There used to
I'm
be
looking
old
at the
fire
picture.
station
I know,
years
there's
ago.
nothing, there, she's right.
Okay.
In that particular area, you get on up on the hill, as she said, they are houses on up.
So are we going to actually rename,
From the mouth of Sycamore and then cutting up Sycamore Mountain?
Yep.
Because you're dealing with Sycamore Creek and Sycamore
Yeah,
Mountain.
there's no
Yeah,
houses. That's-
Sycamore
Okay.
Creek. We'll,
because if you're going to start where the old grocery store was, then you're going to be
That's
dealing
the
with,
church and the Burchetts,
you're going to be dealing with some houses.
yeah,
I mean, off of 194.
correct.
sorry. Mr. Hatcher, you'll have to guide us before the
Judge,
hearing.
is it any way that we could do that without all that and just say, call it Zero Blackburn Highway and keep the road the same name? I know
It will be the same. This is just a memorial to him.
That's what I'm
Not
saying. That
changing.
way, everybody's
Please
address.
understand, we're not changing anything in regard to 911. Nothing. That's not the intention, because that brings on a lot of.
Then why are we having this hearing? Why are we having a notice and a hearing if we're not changing the name of the road?
You have to have permission to, I'm just getting permission to put this sign up from the court.
Roland, chime in here. My understanding is that what the statute that you just read was that we were changing the name of the road, Sycamore Mountain Road, to Zero Blackburn Road. And the statute that he just read gave the legal requirements for changing the legal name of the road. Now, if you're just going to put a sign up that says this is, the Zero Blackburn Highway, like the Paul and Judy Patton Highway, I don't think you need to go through the statutory
Mr. County
requirement,
Attorney.
all that. But if you're actually changing the name of the road, the 911 name of the road, then we do have to have the,
Judge, and Magistrate Harris, I was going on the resolution which was given to me, and based on it, it was changing the name of the road. If you look on your monitor, the part that's, I'm colorblind, but it appears to be yellow to me. The part is yellow. There's no houses on that part. That is currently under the county road system, County Road 1036. And it's called Sycamore Mountain Road. And that was, my understanding is the reason that road was picked, there are no houses on it, so it would not affect 911, and it would be a very easy changeover in the 911 office from Sycamore Mountain Road to 0 Blackburn Road.
I presume that's the
Reason
reason
that
it was
road was
done that
picked.
way. I presume that's the reason it was.
And that's
done
the
that
reason
way.
it was picked, is my understanding.
I would
So
say
there
that's
were
the
no
reason
houses
to
on
keep from bothering 911, but my thinking in the beginning was, from their request was that the road be named from the store, you can see on the monitor, at the mouth of the creek, up to where you go up the hill. And that's Sycamore Road.
Yeah, right, and that's a different road number.
As it was listed, to keep from bothering 911. I didn't intend for it, or they didn't intend in my conversations with them, to do anything that would interfere with 911. So let's get that resolved. And as Magistrate Harris said, may not need to even have a hearing if you're just going to put the sign up and as a memorial to 0 Blackburn Road.
but now, on the same hand, I don't think we've ever done that before, named a county road, like the state roads, like the Paul and Judy Patton Highway, and I know we've done a few bridges, but
It might be our first.
we start naming county roads, boy, we're opening a bag of worms there.
But I do know the state over on Willis
I
Branch
can
and
understand
Phelps
why it
named
was prepared the way it was.
DeWitt Furrow Highway and left the road name the
But I
same
think
state.
let's move on. I think it's resolved from the mouth of the creek on your monitor up to the foot of the mountain. And
I think if we're gonna go from the mouth of the creek, we'll have to have another county road number.
All right, it's gonna go from right there, where
Correct.
the area is, up to there.
You're gonna go-
And there's no houses, there's no, here,
You're talking right off of
and
194.
then you got landowners involved, you got houses involved.
up there beside of the old store.
No houses on it. The only thing that used to be over here on the left was the old fire station. Whenever they used community property to get it from Palm Burchett. And that has been vacated since they built the new one.
But the reason they picked that is there's no houses, so it doesn't change anybody's 911 address. That was the reason that was picked.
It can be done easily.
And it can be done easily because there's no houses. There's no
Well, it's from
911.
Lowe's store up.
With Lowe's store, you're sort of accounting for two different sets of roads, aren't you? Two different road numbers.
Correct. All I'm doing is passing on the request, and they asked it from Lowe's store up. And it being a memorial to 0 Blackburn. And so, Mr. County Attorney, what direction do we need to do now?
Judge, I don't know about the request. What we have passed and what has been proposed here today is what's in Yalla, and it involves no houses, and it can be very easily changed the name of the road
Well, let's
without
leave it-
affecting anyone's
let's leave it that way, then.
911 addresses, and that's
Let's
the
leave
reason it was
the
picked.
way it is, and it does not bother 911.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
We'll do it here. Yeah.
I need to know if I publish the notice of the meeting.
Mr. County Attorney, the clerk wants to know if it's to be published. Yes, it is, Madam Clerk. Next, we have on the agenda, adopt a resolution supporting the coal economy in Kentucky and CAECO. CAECO, and we know that our relationship with CAECO is great, and we couldn't survive as a county government without the assistance of CAECO. and we've all said that time and time again. But what KCO is attempting to do is get all 120 counties, governmental bodies, to support a resolution and support the coal industry of Kentucky, the signature industry of the Commonwealth, even though all the counties in Kentucky does not have coal. But we've all got to remember that billions, and I said with a B, when I proposed the severance tax, all the severance tax funds was to come back to county government for development in the coal county. But the legislature and greedy governors and greedy legislators from out of the coal areas decided that 50% off the top since the 70s have gone in the state general fund to be spent in every county in the Commonwealth. Based on this, KCO is saying, look, folks, you need to be grateful of what you've got from the coal areas of Kentucky and support the coal industry. So that is the reason, and Mr. County Attorney, you will read our resolution.
It's a resolution supporting the coal economy in Kentucky. Whereas the Environmental Protection Agency is increasingly committing egregious overreach upon the coal industry, the EPA's regulation by ambush is unacceptable to the citizens, businesses, and industries of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and Pike County, the top coal-producing county in the Commonwealth. And whereas the EPA has committed administrative malpractice through delay tactics that have halted the issuance of numerous mining permits without adequate explanation. Moreover, this ruthless regulation has been limited to coal mining permits and further restricted to eastern Kentucky and West Virginia. Whereas the Clean Water Act allowed variances to be granted from regulatory requirements where enforcement would result in widespread social and economic disruption, and the EPA has failed to acknowledge the severe impact that its actions are having on Kentucky's economy. And whereas the EPA is intent on destroying the coal industry in Kentucky, it has blocked potential resolutions with the Commonwealth and delayed public hearings for almost 2 years after they were initially requested. And whereas the coal economy directly and indirectly supports 84,000 Kentucky jobs, coal generates half the electricity consumed in the United States today, and over 93% of the electricity in Kentucky. And now, therefore, we, the Pike County Fiscal Court, hereby supports the use and mining of coal in Kentucky, the economic prosperity coal provides through good jobs and affordable energy, the protection of our nation's security and tradition of self-reliance through the use of coal, our most abundant and affordable domestic source of energy, the preservation of our environment by promoting good stewardship of our natural resources, and the strengthening of our communities by advancing technologies that mine coal using safe, environmentally, and economically responsible mining methods. For these reasons, the Pike County Fiscal Court strongly urges the EPA to withdraw all objections to the individual permits for mines throughout eastern Kentucky.
To have a motion. Have a motion, have a second from Mr. Robinson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. We need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the 2012 Pike County Board of Health tax rate. Have a motion, Mr. Robinson. Have a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Robinson? Yes. Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. Acknowledge the receipt of the 2012 Kentucky Annual Report of Public Libraries. And I presume that is the Pike County library system. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Got a motion? Have a second? Have a second, Mr. Murphy. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yeah. Recently, Charles Carlton and I was in Columbus, Ohio to our meeting with Battelle Memorial Institute, who has been the what we call think tank. They don't like to think of themselves as a think tank, but they're the one that we have consulted with from Pike County for years in regard to our energy, since we are the energy capital of America, and we have a lot of programs that we're working to bring to fruition in regard to energy, and a lot that we have done that we've been successful because of Battelle. Battelle also operates along with University of Tennessee, Oak Ridge National Laboratories, and we will be meeting with their staff in the future. And we certainly go over all of our programs we have. We listen to what's going on in the world in regard to energy from fossil fuels, and that is natural gas and, of course, coal. Of course, a lot of people don't know this. We produce 53% of the natural gas in Kentucky, and we are by far number one in the production of coal and the mining of coal. But we had a good meeting. It was a lengthy meeting, and their group was Vice President for International Affairs, Charles Lucas, Zig Abzula, Ron Orsman, the manager, and Brad Caldwell, Senior Research Scientist. And our Dr. Lynn Peters worked for Battelle and was the head of their laboratory in the state of Washington. Battelle operates all the nuclear plants for the United States government and operates all research facilities, of which I think there are 5, I believe they said, Charles, around the country. So our relationship with Battelle has been for years, and of course our relationship with the Lynn Peters, since he has been Energy Secretary under Governor Beshear. Next, we have awarding of bids. Oh, wait a minute, we got to acknowledge the financial report of the Pike County Conservation District. I forgot that one.
Motion.
Got a motion, have a second. Have a second, Magistrate Johnson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy? Yes. Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. We have a request from the Pike TV Board that the bylaws be changed of the meeting time of the regular monthly meeting of Pike TV. That has to be done by the City of Pikeville's governing body and the the County of Pike governing body, Pike County Fiscal Court. The reason for change is that there had been a change at East Kentucky Broadcasting. Cindy May replaced Mr. Casebolt, and their meeting is on the same time as this meeting was scheduled. So they have changed the schedule. What did they change that to? Did they have it?
Tuesday at 10 o'clock.
On the Tuesday, Mr. County Attorney, I think you have it over there.
Yes, the proposed change is changing the meeting from the first Tuesday of each month, I believe at noon, to the second Tuesday of each month at 10 a.m. To change the bylaws of Pike TV, it requires a resolution of the Pikeville City Commission and also of the Pike County Fiscal Court. I believe that the city's already approved the change.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
Second.
Motion from Magistrate Harris, have a second. Magistrate Murphy, have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy? Yes. Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. Mr. Stacy, awarding of the bids. Don't have any today. Thank you. Magistrate Road Work.
Motion.
Motion, Magistrate Anderson, second Magistrate Johnson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy? Yes. Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. Magistrate's comment. Magistrate Anderson.
Judge, I don't have any comments this time.
Magistrate Anderson or Magistrate Johnson? Magistrate.
Thank NCRS for getting on top of this flooding, and getting the bids out where we can get the contractors working on the damage and stuff. I just wanted to thank them.
Thank you. Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Dodson.
Judge, I also want to thank Frank Hatcher and Jeannie Robinson for their hard work they had done on Mike's branch and in RCS. That was a project that saved the county a lot of money there. we would have been out quite a bit. And Jeannie, thank you for all the work you done behind the scenes. You know, we've got to have somebody to pick it up and take off with it, and you've always done that, and I just want to thank you. And Judge, we had a meeting last night over at the Phelps Courthouse with the residents in the Majestic area with Mountain Water, UMG, and on the new sewage proposal they're getting ready to do. And we have some applications, and I'd like to pass one down to you in case somebody calls or wants one. They can fill it out. It's a questionnaire asking some questions on their sewage the way it is right now, and hopefully they are going to try to get started on that pretty soon. We've been waiting a long time on that. It's that cold severance money that was appropriated through Mountain Water to get the sewer fusion systems put in the area at Majestic.
Well, we're glad this is finally moving because you all have pushed and pushed and pushed, and to get to this point, that's great. And Jeannie, we need to keep these available in our office. Madam Clerk, I'll give you a copy for the record, and then Jeannie can take the other one. We'll make copies of it and get it to people that may be interested in it.
And also, Judge, I'd like to thank Roland for the work he done on the Esplenda, him and John Doug, on showing their responsibilities for not putting the trees in the streams when they cut them, and hopefully this will protect us down the road when we have that problem. And I thank you, Roland, for doing that.
I would just like to say that when I contacted Kentucky Power, the individuals I dealt with were very forthcoming, very solicitous, and want to know where it's at, and had a very good working relationship with them. And you have the phone numbers to call because they were also very concerned about those complaints and wanted to handle the complaints. So I think we've got a good resolution.
That's good. And Judge, we just had the geocaching, I think that's what they call it, on Labor Day for the Hatfield-McCoy systems over there where all the sites are. And we had over 400 and some people that showed up at the graveside of Frank Phillips that day. So, that's quite a bit of people for one day for Phelps to absorb coming and going. And
great day.
I think it's just the beginning of what's going to happen on their Hatfield-McCoy tours. And I think they've already got the guides are including that in their tours now from over in Chris's area. And we just had the people that Chris had contacted with on the National Geographic doing the taking up the samples and metal detectors and all that. They were over there, last week?
Let me say, Master Dotson, and to all of you, that I had an opportunity to meet with the President of Kentucky Power, Mr. Polly, over the weekend, and very good meeting. We committed ourselves to each other to try to work together with the Kentucky Power Company. Mr. Carlton and I had met very briefly with Mr. Hall, their new employee, who's assigned to economic development, and something that we're certainly interested in is jobs. And we got some needs from Kentucky Power Company that they need to do for us, and of course we need to be understanding with them. And of course he said that, Carl, that we need to be a little bit more understanding of their rate increases. And I said, well, we still have an obligation to the people of the county who has to pay their utility bills to stand up for them when a need is there. But we shook hands, and Jeannie, he said for you to get a hold of Mr. Hall, set a meeting up in the conference room, which continued the conversation we had with Mr. Hall We do need their disc on the people that signs up for solid waste and that signs up for power utilities, and people that leave their account every month. So set that meeting up and we'll discuss that with them, our needs for that, and we'll discuss our economic development needs with the Kentucky Power Company.
Judge, I also want to thank you for sending Stephanie Richardson over to Blackberry and Phelps to start doing outdoor drama on the Hatfield McCoys, and she went by over at McCarr, their new amphitheater that we've got over there, and she was well pleased with it, and she said she thinks that would accommodate all the needs that she has. So right now she's in the process of putting together a panel to start working on that play.
Eugene Gibbs is here, and he's going to work with her and make a decision. She's also going to look up to the county property up in the head of Blackberry, back behind where the monument is, to see if a amphitheater could be constructed if that one didn't work out from their study down to the Hatfield McCoy Park. But she'll be working with you, Magistrate Dodson, with Mr. Gibbs and others over in that particular area. I have a letter prepared to the city of Pikeville for use of the new theater they're building, to have that production in it, and then the fall of the year move it over to Blackberry, and that's what the ACT Theater at Elkhorn Board is doing a study now to do it. They have already, I understand, have somebody writing a script for a Hatfield McCoy production, and this was based upon the forum that was held by the Chamber of Commerce, which asked Artist Collaborative Theaters if they would take the lead in bringing a Hatfield and McCoy production to Pike County. I have that letter almost ready to the mayor, requesting that they give consideration to certain days of the month, and realizing that they have a contractual agreement with a Floyd County, with the theater, Jenny Wiley Theater in Prestonsburg, but asking them to keep some dates out so that they could hold it over here during the hot weather and then move it over to Blackberry in the fall of the year where most of the action was on the Hatfield and McCoy thing. So I hope to get that letter out in the next day or two to finesse the letter and edit it some more and make sure I'm correct in my request to the mayor and to the city commission of Pikeville. Their theater, the rendering of the theater that they're building here in Pikeville looked like the architect had done a great job, and it looked like it's going to be a beautiful building. It's in the paper recently. But I think certainly they ought to consider keeping some days out for this production when you've got 90-degree weather, and then use your amphitheater. And that's something that's not up to us as a body, but up to the board of ACT, of what they do. But ACT is moving forward. They've met with me on three separate occasions, and I have suggested that they work with the magistrate and that they work with Eugene Gibbs over there on Blackberry and others that you all would bring together, and if need be, have a meeting for them in your particular area. But we all know that there are sites here in Pikeville that has historical significance to this Hatfield and McCoy area, or this courtroom. This is the courtroom where the trials was held. Now that has just been determined because we had in our archives, and we say archives, the first floor, we found, and Mr. Rogers found, the drawings of this building back in the early 1900s and around the turn of the century. So we do have those drawings. We got the old pictures. It's got these windows in the back. We have got a 1976 studies that a physical court that I chaired authorized a study done by Harold Stratton Moore, an architect for the county at the time. And we have all that information. But Judge Hayes and others have determined that this is actually the courtroom and was existing in that old building that was built back in the 1800s and renovated in 29 and 30 or thereabout. So, hopefully that the city will take under advisement and give serious consideration to giving some days over here. Of course, they would have started Elkhorn City, moved to Pikeville, and then in the fall of the year when it cools off, move on over to Blackberry.
Judge talked to Eugene over there the other day, and he's here today if he wants to comment on some things. But are you talking about the site where we have our River Trail Monument?
We're talking about the site on the other side of the community center and above the fire station, above the school, over on the right, above the pond in the back.
Eugene, is that where the gas well is where you was talking about the other day?
Yeah.
I know EQT has a gas well there, and that's one other thing I want to bring up. They have a problem with the mud coming off on our walk track, and Eugene said he's having a lot of trouble getting them to come down and clean it off. And Frank, you were going to talk to somebody about that.
Yeah, Eugene and I, that's been 2 months ago, Eugene. I contacted him, and the man went directly over there the following day, was it? Talked to Eugene, and I thought he'd been taken care of till just 30 minutes ago when he told me they hadn't been back. So before he leaves, he and I are going to get on the phone, see what the problem,
And Frank, you might ask him too about acquiring that property too, since you're good friends with him. There's like a gas well on that property right above our park. And it's kind of a situation. I don't know how much property's there. Do you know, Eugene? 10 acres. How much flat part? And we got quite a bit. But yeah. But we had talked once before years ago about putting a little amphitheater up above the park there, where the monument is up on that hillside that's cleaned off. But, on the other hand, we got to look for parking area, and, it's a beautiful park, and it'll be a good place to do it. But Stephanie also said, we've got to have room for parking and be able to accommodate quite a bit of people.
Correct.
So it's something we can look at, and sure. Eugene, if you got ideas, she said she wanted to work with everybody over there. She wants to include the people in the play, and she said probably take between 20 to 40 people to do the actual play, and she wants them people that live over there to take part in it, and over in Chris's area also, because he's got a lot of things going on over there with that same program, and I think she's going to contact the people in your area too. Yep. But we've got things going on over there, so that's one good thing, and if Frank can get that mud cleaned up, that'll help us a lot.
Mr. Hatcher, if you need me to talk to Maverick Bentley, head of EQT, holler at me.
I don't think we'll have a problem. Me and Eugene.
You handle it.
I just didn't know it hadn't been done, or I'd already followed up on it.
Frank, I think what they need to do is get up above the park and clean them ditches and ponds out to where...
They turned the pipe right over above the park. And I thought, like I said, I thought that he was over there the next day and talked to Eugene, and I thought he'd take it care of.
Good shot.
Dr.
Dodson.
Roland, on the other little project we had, there was some property across from the park where our amphitheater is down at McCarr that we were trying to get from landowners. You remember us discussing that, and you and John Doug were going to follow up and see if they were going to donate that property to us out there at mouth of Auburn Holler.
Mr. Dodson, I'll have to confess, I don't have no clue what you're talking about. Are you sure you talked to me?
We brought it up to the court meeting and discussed it, and you and John Doug were going to follow up, and thank you some of Chris's friends that were going to...
Jeannie, would you check on that with Judge Hayes, and then he can get with Roland and see if you can get Mr. Dodson an answer. We decided who owned that, Charles?
I think Roland's Mike Blackburn is who we're supposed to contact.
We know who owns it, don't we?
But that's been a couple months ago, and I was told that Mike might be able to make us a deed for that little bit of property across from our park where we were going to put a trailhead over at McCarr, and maybe you might have.
Magistrate Dodson, I'm going to have to confess, I'm going to have to go back and catch up because I'm not recollecting anything you're talking about.
Well, that's the reason I
I'm just
brought
gonna
it
be
up.
honest with you.
That's the reason I brought it up, bro. I hadn't heard anything, and I figured we might ring a bell.
Master Dodson.
And I got one more thing, Judge. Our swimming pool, Damus, are we getting a cover ordered for the pool over at Johnson Bottom?
Yes, I've got one quote on it right now, and there's another company giving us a quote on it.
I appreciate that, Damus. I appreciate everything you've done over that way. You've improved our parks and our little thing we got going up at Frank Phillips signage board. I guess Cliff is working on that, trying to complete that this week.
Yeah, he's actually on vacation this week. He'll be back next week. He'll finish it up.
Well, thank you. That's all I have, Judge.
Master Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Judge. First, I want to, many of you know my mother-in-law passed away a couple weeks ago, and just on behalf of my father-in-law, Robert, and my wife and her sister, just wanted to thank everybody for their thoughts and prayers and kind words. It's been a difficult couple of years, but we appreciate all the condolences that people have been so kind with over the last couple of weeks. On another note, the Belfry Senior Citizen Center is, we're kind of embarking on a little, I say we, I feel like I'm part of the center there, but we're embarking on a little fundraising project for a new couch at the Belfry Senior Citizen Center. The one we have is old and small, and the center has grown to a level that we don't have enough places for all the seniors to sit when they like to sit around and watch TV and talk and knit and do all the things that seniors like to do there at the center. So if anybody is interested or would be willing to contribute some to the Hatfield or to the Belfry Senior Citizens Couch program or project, if you would, please get in touch with me at the Belfry Courthouse or my assistant Donetta, and we'll see that you get pointed in the right direction and try to get the seniors a new couch there. Also, Hillman talked a little bit about the Hatfield-McCoy tourism, and it is still really hopping. We've got a company, the Hatfield-McCoy Guided Tours, that is being operated by a fellow from my district, Adam Warren, and his weekends are just completely booked up with people traveling from all over the country in to take the tour of the feud sites. And so it is having an effect on our economy. There's businesses popping up, and that's always a good thing to see. The geocaching program or event that was held I believe it was last weekend. That was a huge success. That was put together by Mike and Wendy Baisden, who operate the Linkus House over in Williamson. It's like a bed and breakfast over there. And they put that together, and it was a tremendous success, and had to have the deputy sheriffs to conduct traffic, and so it was a real brought a whole lot of people to our area, and I think we're going to continue to see more and more things like that pop up, and every weekend it's something a little different, and we appreciate those people who get involved in the community and take an interest in what's going on, and appreciate all the people that came and enjoyed that event. Another issue, I was wondering if you had an update on the bridge inspection at Burnwell. We were going to talk to somebody at the state and see if we could get the Massey Bridge at Burnwell inspected to see if it was
Charles Carlson,
acceptable for the county system.
A little update on that.
The inspection is conducted by the company that owns it. They have a consulting engineering company. For insurance purposes, it's inspected on about a 3-year cycle, and so we're looking to a re-inspection by them.
Okay.
by the consulting bridge engineer that does this routinely.
Okay, and that would be better than having the state?
The state cannot inspect it, so it will have to go through a private inspection.
Okay. And I hadn't thought of this, Judge, but it is, the rest of the road through there is a state, it's a state road. It may make more sense for us to maybe make contact with the state and see if they wanted to continue, rather than breaking it a small county road. The state won't take it.
Actually, we can talk to Ms. Holbrook the next meeting and see if they would want to take that bridge instead of the county.
Well, if they don't, I think it's something that the county should be interested in.
Jeannie,
I went
put
over
that
the
on
bridge
agenda for the next
myself
meeting.
over the weekend. It looks good.
Okay, that's all I have, Judge.
Mr. County Attorney, being your birthday, please come around to the mic. We're always glad to have your presence, and your assistant, Mr. Case, is always glad to see you present in the courtroom, same as us.
There's two things you do when something traumatic happens. You either run like crazy or you go face it. I just decided to face up to it, and everybody's welcome to a surprise birthday party next door. My office was decorated in pink last week. If you'll read the News Express tomorrow or whatever, you'll see that, and the Medical Leader probably, you'll see that our office won the Pikeville Pink Award. So my office, instead of being pink today, is turning into black as I looked across the hall. I've had a great time over these 50 years. I've spent a third of it here in this office, and 20 years in government. I'm the third. Most times I don't like to talk about myself, but today, on my 50th birthday and my 100th birthday, I'm going to talk about myself real quick and all the people that I've had help me through the years here around this place. I look around, I feel like all of you is family. You all have made my life really easy. I've been blessed to have this good job, and everybody looks for a place that they feel comfortable and feel like they're needed. And when you're young, you run from job to job, and when you're in politics, you sure run office to office. Yeah, sometimes you don't get to stay as long as you like, and sometimes you stay too long. But it's up to the people of this county how long you stay in these positions. I remember seeing Hillman. I don't know if Hillman remembers this, in the early 90s. I was at his office, and he said, "I really like my office." I looked around. I said, "Boy, it does look pretty nice. It's awful little there." He said, "No, the office." I didn't know. So I learned office don't mean the actual physical building. It means the office that you're particularly holding. And Leo's, his family, his wife's part of my family, and it's just ironic that I know all these people. Judge Rutherford's family lived right beside mine. Bill Deskins was my next door neighbor now, and that family's always lived near me. And Kenneth worked with my aunt and uncle, and Frank Hatcher worked with them. And I visited Chick's house 30 years ago, long before I ever thought I'd get in politics. That's another story. Not what y'all are thinking either. Watched Jeff Anderson grow up. I remember him. He's 3 or 4 years younger than me. He's the only person I ever saw smoke a cigarette while they were in diapers. I think he kicked the habit before he was. It's been a pleasure working with Chris. Chris went to the same law school I did, just about the same time I did, so I feel very close. And all the people here, we'll brag on all these people when we have the employee picnic. It's still October 3rd, is that right? I've got a few of the people I worked with, and you never like to leave anybody out, but you know you're going to leave somebody out, and I'll get a phone call tonight. But some of the people I've worked with, I like using titles because everyone, it's very formal here and very professional, but for the sake of time, I'm going to mention names like Wayne, and Fuzzy, Lillian, Lonnie, Rodney, Russell, David, countywide officers, now Anna. I noticed I probably shouldn't be here because the average age of a countywide office holder is 67.8 years, so I'm still pretty young to be a countywide office holder. Others that we worked with that were countywide office holders: Bill, Paul, Karen, Sterl, Eddie, Donna, Jim, PVA's office, Rio, Rodney, Coon and Jewel, jailers, and Betty Prater over there for the clerks, Sandy for a short period, David Deskins, now Anna, a host of constables we've worked with, the judges. Chris, those of us that have to work more of the courtrooms than here, can't forget our circuit and district judges: Eddie, Baird, Charles Jr., Steve, Larry, Kathy, Kelsey Jr., Chuck, Darrell, Miller, Kent, and Richard. Magistrates of the past, yeah, I'm going to leave these out. Over in Chris's district, Jim Vaughn, Sterl Eddy, Maud, Hillman, had Earl before that, I worked with him, Leo, Rodney up there, Kenneth, you had Foster there for a long time, I worked with him for a lot of years. Chick, and I believe Carson served a 5-year term in the middle of Chick's terms, and Jeff had Lyle and Lacey down there, and superintendents, Roger Wagner, Tom Dotson, Rio, senators, Ray Jones, Gary Johnson, Kelsey Sr., representatives, W. Keith, Leslie, Herbie, Kelsey Jr., Ira, Chris, Howard, and Clayton, Commonwealth attorneys, John Paul and Rick, mayors of Pikeville, Frank and Walter, Steve and Bill, Co-Run, Mike and Laverne, mayors, Elkhorn, Mike, Hank, Charlie, Bill, a host of other commissioners and so forth. And some of these offices I didn't mention as completely because I knew I didn't have them all listed. So if you already know you're going to miss some, don't start into them. But it's been quite an honor to work for this many years. I was born about 300 yards from here, and my mother told me quite often that I wasn't supposed to even be here. They cut quite a big tumor. Wayne probably remembers it, because I remember Mother and them talking when I was a little boy about the young politician next door that was running for office. And but Mother almost lost her life. They had quite a big tumor they cut away from her, and she stayed in the hospital most of the first year of my life. She had her 85th birthday the other day, her and her twin sister, so very close to a lot of you in this room. So God's blessed us very much. I've got 3 great kids and a pretty wife, and I have all you great people to work with at least 2 more years. I know there comes a time that this will all end, and I really don't want it to, but it will. We've been together for a long time, Lawless in this room. And a lot of our good friends there, I see from Blackberry, I think when they start that play over there, see some characters here, might make some good Hatfield McCoy in that play, so that'd be great. So much exciting things going on. I hope our economy picks back up. I was over in child support court today, and there's a lot of guys that hadn't been out of work in 20 years or out of work, and a lot of those things are out of our control here locally. A lot of those things are on the national economy, but we just, with a lot of prayers, we'll all get through this together, and I think we're going to have some great years here. I appreciate all of you. It's been great, and like I say, I don't like to talk. I'm thinking about Bobby's been asking me occasionally to get involved in politics. I'm thinking about that during the next 50 years. I might get involved in a little politics or something. So with that in mind, I appreciate and love everybody. I appreciate the 2 channels that covers our TV and everything. Oh, by the way, don't bring me no gifts. In lieu of gifts, church over here on the bypass, Gene Lane's church. So if you're thinking about bringing me a gift, donate to Gene Lane's church. They just, Church of God on the bypass just had a big flood last month. And I told him that's my charity of choice this year. So don't bring any gag gifts, okay? For those of you about TV and so forth.
Mr. County Attorney, let me say that you're, gosh, a lot of fun to be with. We was at a conference in Louisville, and they took us out to the ballpark. And Pat and I sitting behind him and his son, and the second player, the second baseman out there had already hit a triple, made a play. He tells the fellow beside him, "That's my boy out there." He never did tell the fellow any different, Bobby. But let me tell you about the county attorney.
That guy started asking me.
And I say this, and you notice the fellow by the way that they take care of their children. 2 people I've noticed that I really noticed that's here today. One of them is Chris Harris, the father he is to his children. And Pat and I have talked about that. But you, too, Mr. County Attorney, you give all as the same as Chris does to his young children, and you do the same thing. And I just wanted to say that while you were here today, because you are a great father to your children, and you have been, and believe me, it's noticeable when how you treat your children and how they act, and it's just great. But Mr. County Attorney, you're a lot of fun to be around. We appreciate you. We appreciate your staff that you give us to work with, and appreciate your legal advice.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you all members of the court. Thank you, everybody.
Madam Treasurer.
Authorize any necessary transfers and interfund transfers to pay the bills, payroll, health and life insurance. And also on this, the jailer has requested that I move money from his food budget to motor vehicle purchase in anticipation of him getting his coal severance money later on this year, because he says he needs to go ahead and get this vehicle.
To have a motion. Have a motion from Mr. Anderson, have a second from Mr. Robinson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Authorize payment of the expenditure approval list dated September 17th and any other utility and telephone bills that are received before we run the checks later on this week.
Have a motion. Mr. Robinson, second Mr. Murphy. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Abstain.
And Judge Rutherford?
Pass over the next two items. I'll have those ready at the next court meeting. Authorize the registration of $75 and lodging for the county judge, Wayne T. Rutherford, to attend the 13th annual KCJEA members only fall retreat at Jenny Wiley State Resort Park in Prestonsburg, Kentucky, September 27th and 28th, 2012.
Have a motion. Motion, Mr. Murphy. Have a second. Have a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Authorize registration of $75, the membership of $40, and lodging for the interim animal shelter director, Lori Goff, to attend the Kentucky Animal Care and Control Association training conference at Lake Cumberland State Park in Jamestown, Kentucky, October 3rd through the 5th, 2012.
Have a motion. Motion, Mr. Robinson. Have a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris? Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Authorize a check in the amount of $50,000 to the Millard Volunteer Fire Department when the funds are received from coal severance project ID number A390.
Have a motion. Motion, Mr. Robinson. Have a second. Mr. Johnson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Authorize a check in the amount of $25,000 to the Big Sandy Child Advocacy Center when the funds are received from coal severance project ID number A374.
Mr. Harris.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Harris.
Second.
Second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Authorize a check in the amount of $50,000 to the Turkey Creek Volunteer Fire Department when funds are received from coal severance project ID number A398.
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Harris. Have a second. Have a second. Have a roll call vote.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Authorize a check in the amount of $25,000 to help when the funds are received from coal severance project ID number A383.
Do I have a motion? Have a motion. Have a second. Have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Anderson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
I'm going to vote no, and I'm going to go ahead and explain my vote on this
Right ahead.
vote, and the next one, I'm going to vote no on the next one, too. I still think there are too many questions surrounding this Monk Sanders and his involvement with these organizations. I'm not comfortable voting to give them any additional funds based on the financials that I was able to review. So I'm going to vote no.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Authorize a check in the amount of $25,000 to Kentucky Hope when the funds are received from coal severance project ID number A386.
Do I have a motion? Kentucky Hope.
Yes, sir.
Who is that one?
Mike Sanders.
Mike Sanders. Are there any questions in regard to that?
Yeah, I've got a question, Judge. This money's yonder from last year's, or is this the new year's?
Correct. No, it's last year's.
Last year's co-service money?
Yes.
I guess I probably should stipulate in here too that up to this amount, in case there's things that Frankfurt maybe doesn't approve and we only get a certain amount of money, I guess up to these 25,000, whatever we get from state, that we be able to pass through.
Sure.
Once they sign off on it.
Because this money flows through the county, are we responsible for seeing that it's spent in the appropriate
Well, the
way?
state's going to sign off on it if they send us the money. If
John,
the documentation is backed up correctly, they're going to send us what they feel comfortable with.
I feel like I need to speak at this point. My understanding, and Ron, correct me if I'm mistaken, this is the project from the 2011-2012 budget that the MOA and all the documents were approved by the state, and we have received receipts and they have been forwarded to the state and have been approved. This is not...
The receipts that we forwarded to the state have not been approved at this time to get the money, but I have forwarded everything I have received from HELP and Kentucky Hope to the Department for Local Government, and they will review that, and if it's within the scope of work and it is okay with the state, then they will then send money to the county to disperse based on that project scope and budget.
And my understanding was most of the money for Hope was for ramps.
No, it's for utility. It's operating expenses. It's not most of the money. There was some money in there for handicap ramps and some emergency home repairs, but also for utilities. And I think that was the majority, was the utilities that they have.
But this is sent to the state, and they have to review it and approve it as a valid expenditure.
That's correct, according to the project scope and budget that they've already approved.
As a follow-up to Master Harris's question, that has been one of mine and your concerns for the last several years about this so-called pass-through money to organizations that we have no votes on, that it's difficult for us to know what the money is actually being spent on, but the best we can do is get receipts where it's been spent and forward it to the state, and they make a determination of whether or not it's within the scope for work.
Correct.
I'll make a motion if the state determines and sends us a check that we pass it on. If we don't get it, we can't pass it on.
And up to these amounts, whatever the amounts end up being.
Have a second? Do we have a second? It's not up to us, it's up to the state.
Or do you want us to wait until we get the funds in, then bring it back at the next court meeting that these funds are received
Let's pass that
during?
one and move on, Madam Treasurer.
So I guess we need to delete the previous one too?
No, we just
Just the
need
Kentucky
to
Hope.
pass
Okay.
it on.
Okay, I need the county attorney. I had to run upstairs and do a quick budget amendment because I had not put any money in on the roads account side for any NRCS funds, because I sort of thought all those had been took care of from last year. So we do have to have a first reading of a budget amendment. Assistant County Attorney.
Mr. County Attorney.
This is an ordinance relating to fiscal year 2012-2013 annual budget and amendment thereof, whereas the Pike County Fiscal Court has realized unbudgeted receipts from the following funds in summary form: Section 1A receipts, Road Fund USDA NRCS EPA $106,309. B, appropriations. That was total amended revenues. Total amended appropriations to the same description, $106,309. It'll be first reading, need to be duly advertised.
Authorize a check when the funds are received and we should have the second reading in time before we get this money. Once we have the second reading, authorize a check in the amount of $39,010 to York Smith Trucking for NRCS work at Upper Harless Creek when funds are received from the NRCS.
Need a motion on that, Madam Treasurer? Motion from Magistrate Murphy. Have a second? Have a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
I think Leo made a statement, or are these things advertised for bid? The projects?
Jeannie had them in and had them bid on it.
NCRS, it's,
Okay.
it's done on an emergency basis.
It's done on an emergency basis. Okay. Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Authorize a check, and after the second reading, the budget amendment in the amount of $30,408.70 to Stratus Services Incorporated for NRCS work at Lower Johns Creek, Mike's Branch, when funds are received from the NRCS.
To have a motion. Motion, Mr. Dodson. Have a second, Mr. Murphy. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Judge, just a quick question. Roland, you may be able to answer this. I just want to make sure we're not required to bid these, correct?
This is under the NCRS, and when they come in and approve these projects, they give a certain fairly small window you got to complete the project in. So we've always done these on an emergency basis, and that's with the approval of NCRS. So basically what Jeannie does, she kind of solicits quotes and tries to work through them and to spread the work out, because you usually have, you got 10 days to get the work completed. So the NCRS work has always been done on an emergency basis.
Okay. I think Jared's, the next one on there, Jared Smith, does he have the bid, the county bid for this stuff? Do we go to those people first? And, I mean, do
They
we
have
at
to
least?
be certified, Magistrate Harris, they have to be a certified contractor by NRCS to be on a list to be considered to put a proposal in.
No,
I just want to make sure we're doing it the right way. I mean, I don't want to end up.
You're the people's got the bid. Yeah.
Y'all so y'all use the low bidders first? Is that?
You're talking about the emergency work for FEMA that we bid every year. We lock those bids in every year just in case we do have a flood, that we can start to do that permanent work. And part of it is like grout and gabions and drilled steel. This right here gets into dipping creeks, removing, like down at Mike's Branch, that old water bridge.
Looked like there's a lot of grout went on in there too, and I think that's
Right.
I think that's what Chris is saying. Are we fine with the contractors that has the bid on these projects?
But, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with the work.
But the
these
bids
guys
that
do.
we awarded was for FEMA permanent work.
Are they FEMA? That's a question I've always had. Are they county bids or are they FEMA bids?
This is a totally different federal pot of money from those annual bids that we lock in to do permanent work for FEMA. There are some of those same contractors that do the NRCS work too. The reason we do the annual bids is so we'll have contractors in place to do that work once a flood occurs without having to hold everything
Do we call
up.
those contractors? I mean, the
I
ones
think
that
Jeff was asking, do we ask those people on that list
Are you saying
first to
is
do this
like the lowest
NRCS?
bidder on the emergency? No, we do, because these projects are made up of not just grout, because those FEMA bids are just you've got a lowest bidder for grout, you've got a lowest bidder for gabions, and for drill steel. This is like sediment, dipping the creek out, removing any kind of debris in the creek, and then you do have some grout work, or you could have gabion work, or whatever they decide, but there's a whole scope of work that you just can't put one bid in for because it's all different based on what the project is.
Right. So,
Now, we do have some of those bidders that do the FEMA work that have bids in that put bids in on the NRCS work too.
do we call all the contractors? I reckon is what I'm asking.
Frankie,
Is that?
NCRS just does the creeks and banks, right?
Right.
NRS, like you're talking about, they're just about like FEMA. When FEMA comes in here, us masters, we do some emergency work right fast, and they work on the same plan, don't they? Same stuff.
Right. That's where FEMA and NRCS overlap, is on the banks of the creek.
Right.
They both have jurisdiction there. NRCS in the last couple of years has superseded FEMA, where now they have jurisdiction on those banks before FEMA does.
Well, didn't we advertise, was it last year maybe?
No.
Some NRCS work?
We advertised 4 projects last year because the time limit to get those projects done was 180 days, and it wasn't considered emergency work. So we had to go through normal bidding procedures on those projects.
That was
We accepted sealed
non-emergency.
bids. Right. The time limit from the time that they sign these project agreements on NRCS is 10 days to get the work done. And a bid would, just to advertise a bid would have to be out there 10 days.
So they declare their own emergency?
They declare their own emergency based on a storm event. They have to have some kind of event to trigger their declaration.
Okay.
It doesn't have
so
to be.
the stuff you advertised in the paper last year
was non-emergency work.
Emergency.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was a 180-day time limit to get the work done. And on these projects, there's 10 days to get it done.
So when you do the bids, you just call, or do they call the contractors, or do we do it? Or
We've got a list of contractors that they have worked in the past, and then like for this time here, there was only like 5 projects, and we had, I think, about 8 or 10 contractors all submitted bids on all 5 projects.
Okay.
And then even if you were the lowest bidder on multiple projects, you still couldn't get all those projects because you didn't have enough time to get them all done. So then we had to look at like the second lowest bidder on another project if the first bidder, who was the lowest, already had a project.
Roland, you're familiar with the process and comfortable with it?
I am comfortable. I have always encouraged Frankie and Jeannie, if there's time, you bid, and if there's not time on the emergency, you got to go ahead and get the money.
The process was done in 2 days. They were here one day. They were here one day, and they got the instructions and the maps and the photos, and they went out, looked at the project, and they brought it back the next day. We opened them in front of everybody that submitted a quote, and then we went ahead and awarded the lowest quote and went down to the next.
Any other question?
Did we finish up the?
I think there's one more at the bottom there.
Personnel.
I think there's one more at the bottom, isn't there?
Go right ahead.
Yeah, did we finish up the vote on straw? Okay. Authorize a check in the amount of $36,890 to Jared Smith Construction for NRCS work at Lower Harless Creek when the funds are received and after the second reading of the budget amendment from NRCS.
Motion, Magistrate Murphy. Have a second. Have a roll call. Magistrate Robinson, have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson?
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy? Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson? Oh, I'm sorry. Magistrate Harris?
Yes.
Judge Reed?
Yes.
On this bill list, I'd like to also point out, we'd had calls from employees whenever Anthem sent out a letter stating that they may be entitled to a rebate. This is on our accounts payable list to pay those people on the buy-up. The most somebody got's like $16 down to $4 and something. So the people that paid will get money back. The other amount of money will be used to go into the health insurance to fund it as restrictions on this money from the rebate program of Obama's. So this is the people who's going to get money is going to get it according to this list right now.
Okay.
This was for 2011 calendar year too. Then the other thing, the jail had asked or had AFLAC to come in, Shannon Carpenter, and John Doug approved allowing AFLAC to write insurance programs for employees. They need authorization for a signature to enter in with the Pike County Fiscal Court, either the judge or myself, it doesn't matter, but allow AFLAC to sell, but they cannot sell except on breaks or lunchtime or after hours.
John,
for this to be a payroll deduction.
This
Need a
will be a
motion
payroll
upon the
deduction.
treasurer's
Already talked to
recommendation.
Frankie.
Madam Clerk, did you get that down?
John Doug approved
I
it
got
last
that down. I
week.
didn't get who did.
Well,
the
how do we approve that for one and not for others? I thought we ran into this one other time, is if you're gonna let one do it, you gotta let all of them do it, and I thought we decided just not to let anybody do it.
What is your pleasure?
I got this approached from the jailer who approached John Doug, and John Doug said he probably opened up a can of worms when he did this, but there's people over there wanting it. Aflac can sell without it having to be a payroll deduction, but they get a better rate if it's a government entity. So, you all tell me what to do. It doesn't matter.
I think,
What is your
I think he's
pleasure?
right. I think he's opening up a can of worms. If we do it for one, I think we're gonna be bombarded. Yeah, we've told people no many times before.
It's fine with me. We'll just not do it.
Madam Treasurer, anything else?
No. Not at this point. I got something else to bring up in just a few minutes.
Mr. County Attorney?
Judge, I've reviewed the personnel recommendations, and I don't see the need for an executive session unless the member of the court thinks we need one on these items. If not, I'll proceed with reading the recommendations of the personnel. Approval to hire Tommy Lawson as a temporary replacement heavy equipment operator for road lot number 3 at a 5H rate of pay per hour effective August 23rd, 2012. He's temporarily replacing Irving Blair. Approval to hire Ronald L. Ferguson as a full-time diesel mechanic for the maintenance garage at a 5H rate of pay per hour effective September the 18th, 2012. Approval to hire Roxy Pat Smith as a temporary monitor for solid waste area number 5 at a 3H rate of pay per hour effective September 17th, 2012. She's temporarily replacing Jennifer Lewis. Acknowledge the retirement of Jack Hopkins as of August the 31st, 2012. He was a boom truck operator and foreman of solid waste area number 2 and had worked for the Pike County Fiscal Court since May 1984. Acknowledge the retirement of Ron Reynolds as of August 31st, 2012. He was foreman road lot number 3, worked for the Pike County Fiscal Court from September 17th, 1991 until January 1999, and was rehired on January 6, 2003. Those would be your recommendations, Judge.
Those are my recommendations and my motion. Have a second.
Second.
Have a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Master Anderson?
Yes.
Master Johnson?
Yes.
Master Murphy?
Yes, and I want to say that I'll sorely miss Ron Reynolds because he's been a right arm to me for 10 years now that I've been in office, so I'll sorely miss him.
Master Robinson? Master Dotson?
Yeah.
Master Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Madam Clerk, have a roll call vote, please.
I did all but your vote.
Yes. The treasurer had brought it to our attention, something that we need to take care of to not hold up the sheriff's settlement. She's consulting with the county attorney in regard to it, and if he concurs, she will make a recommendation to the court.
Judge, I missed one thing a while ago I was going to bring up. Davis, we got to hurry and get on the ball to get us a barn built up there, or do something for a salt thing up there. We going? I don't know. We have to rob a bank, yeah.
What Magistrate Johnson said with winter coming up, that we need to get on your schedule get it down on your schedule so that you can get it done before the snowfall.
Yeah.
It is just about ready to fall down.
Ready to fall.
I mean, there's not much we can do for it itself other than build another one. it's ready to fall down. The roof is good shape, but the rest of it's ready to fall.
Good shape.
Damus, if you can get me some information on the cost of that, we'll see what we can do.
Have you still got that quote that I give you, Chick?
Huh?
Have you still got the quote that I give you last year? Okay, I'll work it.
Now, your microphone's on so that they can hear.
So we'll get with Rhonda and.
Just a second. And then come back, you said.
Court will be in 5-minute recess so the county attorney can, and the treasurer can go over the numbers so that they can make a recommendation to court, and then we will adjourn. Pike County Fiscal Court is back into session. Madam Treasurer, you and the county attorney, ever which one that needs to explain what we need to do today, please proceed.
She managed to explain it to me, Judge, so I'll let her explain it to the court.
The tax rates have been certified from DLG in order to get the sheriff and everybody on the same, get the tax bills to where they can be collected in November. The court needs to set the real property at the same rate as last year at 12.4 cents per hundred, and the personal property needs to be decreased from 13 cents per hundred to 12.4 cents per hundred. And then we also need to do the acreage of 0.02 cents per acreage, or whatever that is, per hundred of acreage.
Fire protection.
Yeah, fire protection.
I'll make the motion. Have a second. Have a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Ruth?
Yes. Have a motion to adjourn. Have a motion, have a second, have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson? Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris? Judge Ruth?